Hello and welcome to another lecture for History of Journalism online. I'm Professor Harper, and today a brief lecture about Ida B. Wells-Barnett, one of the most important African Americans in U.S. history and also one of the most prominent journalists. She was born in Mississippi just before the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. She was the oldest of 8 children. Her parents had died in 1880 when she was 18, and she became a teacher in Mississippi in order to support her brothers and sisters. She completed her studies at Rust College and became a teacher in Memphis in 1888, but that wasn't her final calling. In Memphis, Tennessee, Wells became an editor and co-owner of a local black newspaper called the Free Speech and Headlight, and she wrote editorials under the pen name Iola. And when a respected black store owner and friend of hers was lynched in 1892, Wells used her paper to attack the evils of lynching and encourage the black townspeople of Memphis to go west. One of Ida B. Wells-Barnett's major contributions was to chronicle and write about all of the lynchings that had occurred of black people mainly in the South, but elsewhere as well. When she was in New York, she received word that she shouldn't return to Memphis because her life could be in danger, and so she went to England to gain support for her anti-lynching campaign and earned a reputation as a fiery orator and a courageous leader of her people. When she returned to the United States, she went to Chicago and formed the Women's Era Club, which was the first civic organization for African American women. In 1895, Wells published a Red Record, which recorded all of the race lynchings throughout America. And what we see in the article that we read for this week, which is Mob Rule in New Orleans, it chronicles both what happened in terms of a race riot in New Orleans, but also chronicles some of the lynchings that had occurred during that same period. And what Mob Rule in New Orleans is that it's essentially one of the first examples of media criticism, in which Ida B. Wells-Barnett takes to task the role that the newspapers played in fomenting the race riots. It's also a piece of advocacy journalism, and an interesting one at that. By the start of the 20th century, the racial strife in the country had reached significant proportions. It was really bad. And so we had lynching and race riots throughout the country. In 1909, Barnett was asked to be a member of the Committee of 40, and this organization provided the groundwork for the organization that we now call the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Ida B. Wells-Barnett, a fascinating person, one of the most important African Americans in the history of the United States. Some of you may have heard of her, some of you may not have, but that's what we have for today. So, thanks once again, and we'll see you online.